I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. You get a roll call, please.
Mr. Bellafiore.
Here.
Mr. Biondo.
Here.
Mr. DiGiulio. Mr. Ludston.
Here.
Mrs. Coletti. Mr. Edisivas.
Here.
Mr. Stoffel.
Here. A quorum has been established. We will teleconference in Warner DiGiulio. He's away on business. Warner, are you there? I'm sorry, are you there? Hello?
Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Great.
Yes.
Yep, thank you. Will all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. O'Malley, could you please read our mission statement?
The mission of Norwich School District 80 is inspiring educational excellence in a nurturing environment.
Thank you. I'd like to thank all the visitors for coming out on a beautiful summer night here in Norwich. So thank you for taking the time to spend it with us. We receive a couple pieces of correspondence. We'll go right into presentations. The first presentation, we have Dr. Schilling with the preliminary budget forecast for 2018 and 19 school year. Dr. Schilling, the floor is yours.
Okay. I'm coming to you tonight with some very positive news. So, that news is that balanced at last. When I say balanced, that means the operating funds, as it's defined by the state of Illinois. Unless something crazy happens between now and the time we do the final budget, it will be a balanced budget. You will be off of the deficit reduction plan, and you will move to what I call phase 2, which for districts that have gone through this, which is sustainability. Because obviously you get off of it, and the next thing you want to make sure of is you don't get back on it. Okay? So sustainability just means being prudent and frugal about how you do things and making good decisions in the future. So, but there are challenges, and I just want to go through some of these challenges so that we're all on the same page, because when I say that we'll be on a balanced budget, and I'll show that in a minute, we're talking $200,000 or $300,000 out of, a lot of money. So a little bit goes wrong, things can change. First of all, the education fund. It is balanced, at this point, but you still have to remember that we borrow money every year because we don't have any money in the education fund. The balance is in the working cash fund. So if you kind of think of this as like you had, 8 checking accounts. The checking account that has and savings account for all the teachers' salaries, all the programs, all the textbooks, that's the one that has no money in it, okay? So we still have to do a little work there over the next couple of years. What we'll do is try and fine-tune some of the other funds and see if we can create some space, and we'll also look at doing some other things, hopefully, that will make that work. The issues that we face, though, are obviously the pension and tax freeze are still out there. The tax freeze would affect you to the tune of about $175,000 to $200,000 a year if it ever comes to fruition. And the pension, it almost got through this year. That is a little, probably in the same range. So those are issues out there. The evidence-based model, that was the replacement. I talked about that last year. That was the replacement to the state aid. And again, there are 4 tiers. 90% of the new money goes to the top 2 tiers, which you're not in, which means that you're not going to get a whole lot of money in the future from the state. So it's whatever the taxes go up, which is basically your local revenue, which is going to fund us in the future. And right now, for this year and the next year, that number is about 2.1% is what the tax cap CPI is. So we're basically projecting on around 2%. And then the capital needs is the other issue, because every district that I've ever worked with, including the other one that I'm working with now, the biggest issue is that you get everything balanced and you say we're good, but you have to remember that if you still have stuff out here that has to be done in your buildings, where does that come out of? Because we're still at a position where if something major would happen, you would have to take it out of either your reserves, or you would have to take it out and you would have a not balanced budget for 1 year. But at least you have that latitude at this point. So this is kind of, I'll show you the graphic, but this is kind of where we are right now as of today, before all the budget's been finally put together and everything else. And I'm showing a financial projection because I told you we're off deficit reduction and we're into sustainability. So what we want to do is look at where we were, where we are, and what's going to happen in the next few years. So you can see here that basically 2019 right now, and again, this could change, be a little better, worse, whatever, is the $237,000 balance in the operating funds, that increasing to about $415,000 the following year, and then part of that's because we have one-time retirement costs, so we're taking out for 1 year, and then it goes down a little bit. Then in 2022 it goes down a little bit more because we've hired a bunch of new teachers and so forth. We're going to have people moving up on MA, which is an extra 10 grand, between the lanes and some other things. So if you look at the percentages, and I want to show you this in a chart because I think this is better, is that purple line. Well, the orange line is where we said we'd like to be. We'd like to be a little higher than 25%, so we have a margin of error and can still get the highest profile score, okay, from the state of Illinois. The purple is what we've been doing. So you can see that we would basically had not done anything. We would be out of money at this point, okay? And the red line is where we are now. You can see that the magic is in 2018. We're going to hit bottom, and then we're going to move back up towards being whole again and having a balance that if you need to do something, you can do it. I have, as part of this, included funding for both the phone and fire alarm systems. They're both huge safety concerns. It's what, $90,000 or something like that. So I've set aside money for that to be taken care of this summer before next year, because if you look at some of the repair costs, they're almost getting to the point where you'd be better off replacing them anyway. So those are two things that you probably should do yet this summer before school, and then they'll be done and you won't have to worry about that next year. So that's basically everything that's in the budget per se. It basically follows the line that we talked about of what items were going to be removed, and again, it's a projection at this point. You will get a detailed budget here in the next couple months when we finalize everything, but this reflects the move to be in your own special ed district. This reflects all the staffing changes, and I've basically, the only decisions that still have to be made are, and you're going to talk about them, are fees and obviously what the final situation is. I've included in the budget at this point band at 0.8, so because logically the staffing for that is that there's 2/10 of music needed at the middle school. So having a 1.0 at the middle school, 2/10 music, 8/10 band makes the most sense. I first ran the projections, I ran it at 0.6 because that's actually the most sustainable, but it doesn't provide the best program when we looked at it, because you get, by just making the extra 2/10, but the extra 2/10 is another 20 grand a year. So you can see once you start putting in a little bit, it adds up. So this has the band and music person 1.0 being at Giles the full week, which gives them more flexibility. Okay? And how you pay for that, though, is something I know you're going to talk about. The only thing I want to show you on band is, basically the cost of the program at this juncture at 0.8, the total cost is 95 grand. That's salary, that's benefits, that's supplies, purchase services, you name everything at 0.8. That's,
Sorry. So, but if it was 1.0, then you would increase that. You just divide that by
yeah.
0.8 or whatever. It is.
Well, not quite, because some of it's one time. Meaning, if it's $2,500 for supplies, you wouldn't. You're not going to increase that. It's just the salary and benefits that go up. Okay.
Right.
But that's what's in the budget right now is 95,617 attributable to the entire band program in total. That's for purchase service supplies, stipend, as I said, all the salary and the benefits. There's no transportation, so it assumes if there are any extracurricular activities that would require transportation, those are done, either paid for on a field trip, or it's close enough that the parents take the kids over for if it's at the high school or something like that. So that's what's in there right now. If you look at the left-hand side, I know everybody's been talking about a fee of $295, so I just did this little chart just so you can kind of see if you had 100 students sign up, what would not be covered is $66,000, and then you go right on down to if you had 175, it's down to $43,000. So you can see that if depending on how you do this, it's possible to sustain the program for several years until we figure out another way. Especially with some donations and contributions all the way around. Turn it over to you.
I commend the board because this is the first balanced budget we've had in 11 years. So not since 2008 have we basically positioned ourselves where we're going to be able to build our reserves once again. And really that was an expectation from the community. The community was very, very loud and clear with the decisions on the referendum. We had heard from many people that we need to look from within. We need to create structures that are sustainable, such as fees. And really, we need to regroup and really earn the respect from the community in the form of having something that really speaks volumes about the work that we've done. And it's been very difficult because, from the outside looking in, there's a lot of criticism. Right? When we went from having the 2 K-8 buildings to the grade center model, there was a lot of people that did not like that decision. When we went to a program where we had higher class sizes, which you're going to have in the following year, people did not like that position. But at the end of the day, you've positioned yourself very well, or we've positioned ourselves very well, because we're going to have to build those reserves. Because at some point in time, and I keep telling people this, at some point in time, we're going to have to go back to the community. We're going to have to find out what we need to do, or what question we need to put on the ballot to have a referendum to take care of our buildings. But, I commend all the hard work. It's not easy. And, we should be very proud. This is one favorable thing we're going to hear tonight, and it's really lined up. We have another one right behind it, and we have another one that's soon after as well. So, I'll just leave it at that. This just speaks volumes of all your hard work, and it's not easy turning a line really almost bringing it all the way back up in a short period of time. So, I'll leave it at that.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Any questions from the board for Dr. Schilling?
I have something to say, Dr. Schilling. Thank you very much for being that guidance for us, being that beacon of light, and always talking us off the ledge and showing us that we can do it. We can do it if we just made some of these different changes. So thank you for standing by us and being there with us through this, because it has been difficult.
Well, you're welcome, and I think you all need to take pride in this, because I mentioned the fact that what had been accomplished here to a couple people at the State Board of Education, and they just thought it was amazing that a board is that committed, because so many boards, to be quite honest, would just ignore the fact that you're spending too much money and just spend it until they were broke. And we have not done that, because that's a much harder thing to get out of, and is much worse for students and kids in the long term.